So we're here at the Black Lives Matter protest in Melbourne, Australia. Now we've come here to ask some basic questions because we're in a COVID crisis at the moment, restrictions. Anybody can be fined for going to work, but 40,000 people have descended on the city for the death of an African American in Minnesota at the hands of a white police officer. So, do any of them even know Justine Damond's name? The Australian woman that was murdered by the same police force. Let's find out. She got shot dead by an African American. Is that just as bad or not?
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
It's just shit, the amount of people that are like, all lives matter. It's like, yeah, okay.
Does all lives matter?
Not right now.
Why do you think no one ever protested like this? 40,000 people in the city for somebody who's not even Australian. But when Justine Damond was shot dead, and she doesn't have a criminal history, why do you think that is?
Well, I'd have to say that's a bit of white supremacy, is it not? You know, that's not...
Why is it white supremacy?
Well, because she's white. Because she's white. She's white.
Do you know how many white Australians have died in police custody?
I don't really care, to be honest.
Are you arguing with the statistic or you just don't like it?
I think you need to talk to people of colour and get their voices.
I'm a person of colour.
Hi.
Are we off to the protest today?
Yes, we are.
Can I ask you something? So George Floyd is what kicked this off, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You care about George?
of course.
Of course.
Do you know somebody called Justine Damond? No.
No.
You sure?
Yep.
Do you know who she is?
Not explicitly, but I've heard just the name.
We'll jump on the train with you. You going on this train?
Yeah.
To bring awareness that it's also happening within Australia.
What's happening?
Racism.
What racism exactly?
That we neglect the First Nation of this country.
How do we neglect them?
We don't provide them with the same opportunities that we have.
Which opportunities?
It's this systematic racism. It's the same thing. You can't deny that it's not happening.
No, I like the wording, systematic racism. Give me an example.
432 Aboriginals that have died in police custody.
How many white Australians have died in police custody?
By the way, what news?
Do you know how many white Australians have died in police
I don't
custody?
really care, to be honest. Don't want to have a
You
conversation.
don't care.
No.
I guess with George Floyd, maybe given his skin colour, it just kind of is more triggering to the population here because, I mean, as my sign says, same racism, different soil. Yeah.
Do you know a person called Justine Damond?
No.
No? Justine Damond? Do any of you know that name?
Not that I know of, I haven't heard it.
George Floyd is just one of many, and it's been happening since, you know.
Yeah, I understand that, but the problem is that statistically, actually, white people are killed at a higher rate by in police custody. Unarmed white people, more unarmed white people.
Yeah, where are you getting your facts from?
TR News.
What is that? What is it?
Yeah, no.
Are you arguing with the statistic or you just don't like it?
I think you need to talk to people of colour and get their voices.
I'm a person of colour.
Yeah. But
Guess my person of colour status just wasn't going to cut it there, so I'll ask someone a little bit darker than me. Justine Damond was murdered, unarmed, no criminal history, by a black police officer in Minnesota.
Okay.
There was no rallies here in Australia, the country, you're Australian.
Yeah.
Why?
For that one specifically, because the majority of black people who get murdered in America aren't by black on black crime or by black people. It's actually by police officers or just white people. It's not, majority of them is not from black people. So that's why we didn't need a protest for that. And
I love my black brothers and sisters,
yeah.
but that's actually false. That's not true. You alright?
Hey!
You guys aren't going to the protest, are you?
No, I'm seeing your video.
But what about your shirt? You look like you're already... Black shirts matter?
No, I've only got another one.
We've just been out for lunch at the pub. We're going back to his pub.
Did you social distance?
Yeah, that's why we're sitting on separate seats.
We're doing the distancing.
Have you heard of someone called Justine Damond?
No.
No. Okay, so can I tell you who she is?
Yeah.
She's a white Australian woman
Right.
that was unarmed, in her pajamas, shot dead in Minnesota.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know who you're talking about now. Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
why do you think no one ever protested like this? 40,000 people in the city for somebody who's not even Australian. But when Justine Damond was shot dead, and she doesn't have a criminal history. Why do you think that is?
Well, I'd have to say that's a bit of white supremacy, is it not? You know, that's not.
Why is it white supremacy?
Well, because she's white. Because she's white. She's white.
Go and stir up the pot. You know what it is?
I'm just going to ask the questions no one wants to ask.
I love it. You stir them up.
So where you live?
We are. You know what the funny thing is? We're on Spring Street.
Oh, yeah.
we just have to pivot through people and get back there.
You're taking your white privilege and you're going to walk down Spring Street.
What an arsehole.
They should deport him.
They should deport him.
It's a good kid, that kid.
You can't talk about... The cameraman, they can't see it. He's Asian.
Yeah.
You can't be talking to him. You need a kneel.
Take a knee.
Take a knee.
If I take a knee, then can I talk about it?
You can ask permission. Guys, be careful. No, she's all right. You know what she said, the first thing? Don't Black Lives Matter?
All lives.
That's it.
Oh, I love her.
What?
All lives matter. God, like Filipinos, oh my God.
So what are you doing?
Oh, we're going to the protest to talk to these crazy people. I mean...
She was shot by a man of colour as well.
Yeah.
I did feel really sorry for him because I thought that there was an injustice for him as well.
For him? Why?
Well, because I don't think he really meant it.
The look on my face is exactly what I was thinking. I had nothing to say. This is the kind of logic they apply. They say Mohammed Noor, who shot dead an unarmed white woman in her PJs, he must have accidentally committed that horrific crime. But the officer that was pinning down George Floyd, who was a violent thug who just committed a violent offence, that police officer, while he was pinning him down to restrain him, he must have done it on purpose, even though he was being filmed. Now, I'm not saying it's right. Neither are right. It is wrong and he should be punished. But these people, they think, on one hand, a blatant crime that's obviously perpetrated on purpose, or at least much more likely to be a purposeful act. They think then, on the other hand, when it happens the other way around, that we've got to excuse it. It must have been an accident. Anyways, that's the end of my trip to the protest. I finally arrived and it was well worth it. We got to talk to a few people on the way. Now I'm coming in to the actual event. What I want to point out is that at least the helicopter is socially distancing.
I love you.
Let me ask you, I love you too.
I love you.
Let me ask you. I love you more. But listen, are you here for the protest?
You know, God told me this morning, go to the city. I'm serious. Because with God, there is no black or white. There is no Jews. There is no Gentile. There is no...
Everybody. Stop putting your white privilege on me. There's a Jew.
Are you a comedian? Anyway, I don't know what your name is, seriously.
They call me Mohammed.
Mohammed. Hallelujah.
God bless you.
Love you. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves everybody.
The next few groups you're going to see, they all have something in common. I approach them and they're all happy to engage. They look at me, they think, oh, that's a person of colour. He obviously has to support our false narrative. And they talk to me all until it gets too hard, when they realise that I'm challenging their narrative. Have a watch. Are we here for the protest? Mm-hmm. For George Floyd? Mm-hmm. What happened to him is pretty horrible, yeah? Can I ask you something? Do you know somebody called Justine Damond?
No, I don't.
Are we here to protest for George Floyd?
Yep.
Tell me, do you know a woman named Justine Damond?
I don't. I've heard the name, but I don't.
Do you know? No? So Justine Damond was an Australian woman who was shot dead in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. She was white. Mm-hmm. The officer was a black African American. Mm-hmm. Why do you think no one came out for her? Why do you think you don't even know her name?
I think that, like, this is an issue that's like a systemic issue. I don't think one man shooting one white woman is necessarily a reflection of like a problem.
How could you not know her name? She's an Aussie that was also murdered in Minnesota.
I had no idea. but it's horrible.
Do you not find that okay, so she happens to be white.
Yeah.
Her killer was an African American cop.
Yep.
Don't you find it weird that everyone's coming out? No, you don't like white people don't matter.
No, we read that people don't want us to talk to the press, so we're not going to do
they don't
that.
want. Oh, suddenly you don't want it, and they don't want to talk.
All good.
Why do you think everybody's breaking the restrictions to come out for an American, but you don't even know an Australian's name? In America, the statistic for white people to die at the hands of police is much higher than the rate of no?
I don't really. We're going to go.
You don't care about facts?
We'd like to make no further comments, thank you. If you could ask someone who actually is involved with something like this.
You're not.
We are involved.
Okay, one last question. Do white lives matter?
It's not about white or black. Black people are misrepresented in the justice system, and this is what this is about.
Thank you.
You can't really
I'm here for Indigenous
Australians, okay.
I'm here for TJ Hickey, for all the Indigenous people who have been killed in custody.
How many Indigenous Australians have been killed in custody?
Over 432 since 1991.
How many white Australians have been?
Again, I'm not making this about white or black. Black people are overrepresented in the justice system and are killed in custody. This isn't black versus white.
But it kind of is, because it says Black Lives Matter, so it is.
Yeah, I'm talking about black lives.
Have you heard of a woman called Justine Damond?
Yeah.
Who's she? No?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? Have you heard of her?
No.
Are we here to protest because of George Floyd?
Yeah, but I would say talk to the organisers. Like if
They seem a bit busy.
It's just that the organisers.
Can I ask you one question? Can I ask you one question? Did you come out when Justine Damond was murdered in Minnesota? Do you know who she is?
I'm not answering questions. I'm saying
you don't know her. You don't know. Do you know Justine?
There is 3% of Aboriginal people in the Australian population, and yet 29% are in the justice system, are in jail.
Don't you think they just should stop committing crimes? Is that not a better option?
Why are there more black people in prison in the legal system?
Because they're committing more crimes.
So
it's a cultural thing.
Yeah. So it's not because there are more police in their neighborhoods. It's
Absolutely not.
Okay.
How you doing, guys?
Good.
Are we here?
Love your work, man. My man.
Mate, don't keep it black and proud. How you doing, guys? So are we here to support the protest because of what happened?
Get some milk. What do you reckon? Of course we're here to support
That milk is white. That's offensive. Do you know a person called Justine Damond?
No.
No one knows Justine Damond? So Justine Damond was an Aussie woman that was also murdered in Minnesota. Why do you think no one here knows her name? Everybody's here protesting for an African American man, somebody that was a career criminal, but there's an Australian woman that had no criminal history, shot dead in Minnesota, and no one came out like this. Why do we think that happens? I might give you a hint.
Yeah.
She was white, he was black. Do you think that says anything?
This lady that was like... Yeah, I know this woman.
So you know the woman. Why do you think no one came out to protest for her? She never got a big rally for her. Yeah. Why do you think that is?
We were saying the same thing about Breonna Taylor.
Yeah, is Breonna black? Yeah. Okay, so I can't speak to that. Justine happened to be white and her killer was African American and she didn't have any criminal history and she was in her pajamas. In fact, she's the one who called her. Why do you think nobody, they're breaching COVID restrictions to come out for an African American in America, but not for an Australian?
Story you're talking about.
So why didn't everyone come out for her?
They did. I think there was a lot of news coverage of...
No one protested.
I think they did.
Not one.
Did.
It turns out I was wrong. I apologise. I went to fact check this when I was editing it because I thought I don't want to look like an idiot that I was spreading fake news, especially because she was so sure that there was protests in that case. And it turns out there were protests. She is right. But the protests were not in support of Justine. They were in support of the cop, Mohammed Noor, who killed her, the murderer. Just to put that into perspective, think about if today a group of white supremacists started marching in support of George Floyd's killer. Imagine the outrage, and rightfully so. But that's what happened. They didn't support her, they supported him. A bit like the woman we'd seen in the previous video.
There was an injustice for him as well.
For him, because he was the victim of that situation, and only because he is black.
Hey brother,
Do it on Google right now. Do it on Google right now.
Why shouldn't he support me?
What do you think?
Don't you?
Why are you better?
No.
You don't have a right to talk. I'm a person of colour. What, can I question
No, I'm
this?
just curious.
Why are
These
you
gentlemen are
using
here,
Why are you
yeah.
using your white privilege
Yeah.
to silence a person of colour?
Because you're not answering questions, man. You're just throwing a mic in my face.
I'm asking you questions.
No, I'm not. You're not answering questions from us.
Yeah.
You're just asking us.
Well, that's my job. I'm the one asking questions. George Floyd. That's why we're here. What happened to George Floyd? Is that right? Can I ask you one question? Do you know a woman named Justine Damond?
Is that one of the Indigenous women that was in custody? No.
No one knows?
No.
How you going, mate? Are you an anti-fascist?
Fuck off, Harvey.
But, mate, I'm a person of colour. You've just used your white privilege to silence a person of colour. Why during COVID?
During COVID, I think we've done it. I've done it before, not
You've
just
done
during
it
COVID.
before?
Yeah. And
Have
for
you done it
refugees.
before? He
And
doesn't
for
look like he's done it
refugees
before. He
that are
looks
still-
guilty. He has never done it
But I
before.
don't think it's George. I think that's just the catalyst. It's just like the ice. It's like one step too far, one straw, one other straw, and it's just broken the camel's back.
I do like that the dog is also black.
And what are you doing here?
I'm here just asking people. TR News is who pays me. I have an agenda. Can I ask you guys which dog matters more, the black one or the brown one? So it's not about colour.
Of course it's about colour.
It is about colour. So she matters less?
No, that's not even close to what I was saying.
So what's about colour? What's the deal with colour?
Well, unfortunately, it's about human rights and equality. That's a problem.
So what inequality is there? What inequality is there that brought you out today to breach the COVID-19 restrictions? What inequality that you're here to protest? Black deaths in custody.
Black deaths in custody.
Okay, so
how
what?
people are treated, how people are even treated for speaking out at the moment
Okay.
on their Instagram pages. Then you get this. It's just shit. The amount of people that are like, all lives matter. It's like, yeah, okay.
Does all lives matter?
Not right now.
You say 400 Aboriginal deaths in custody. How many white deaths have there been in custody in that same period?
How would I know?
Is there more black deaths in custody than white deaths?
Yeah,
Really?
absolutely.
Do you have any stat to back that up?
No, I don't.
I'll tell you right now, and you can look it up after. There are much more white deaths in custody, both here in Australia and in America. In fact, in Australia, the Indigenous population that's in custody that die, they have a much lower rate of death in jail than they do in their own towns. So maybe jail is protecting them.
What are you saying?
Are you part of Antifa? Is this for the COVID-19? But do you think social distancing is not a problem here? Are you for George Floyd?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Do you know a name Justine Damond? Do you know who that is?
Nah, who is it?
He's a white supremacist.
Shouting me down, calling me a Nazi, unwilling to engage. Using their white privilege to silence a person of colour. Think about it. Are we here for George Floyd? Are we here for George Floyd?
We're here for George Floyd, Aboriginal people, Black Lives Matter.
Can I ask you something? You're Australian, yeah? You're Aussie?
Yeah.
So do you know a name Justine Damond?
No, I don't.
So she was an Aussie.
Yeah.
She was shot dead in Minnesota as well. Why do you think no one here knows her name?
I don't know.
Well, can I tell you? She was white. He was African American. Do you think that's why nobody cared about her life?
No.
No? Would you come out for her?
Would I come out for her? What do you mean,
Would you come out for a protest for Justine Damond, who was unarmed as well? She had no criminal history. She was in her pajamas. She got shot dead by an African American. Is that just as bad or not?
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. But hey, Black Lives Matter.
God bless him. It's not just as bad. It's not just. She had no criminal history, but it's not just as bad. She was in her PJs. If you support the work we do here at TR News, if you want to ensure we can continue to bring you the stories the mainstream media refuses to tell, please go to tr.news/support now. We can only do this with your generosity.